Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
Not another good day for Matt Gaetz. Earlier in the week, his best bud, his wingman, Joel Greenberg, turned on him, or we suspect has turned on him. He pleaded guilty to 6 charges, 6 felonies, pretty serious ones. Sex trafficking of a minor, pretty serious. So he's got to be singing. He's got to have something really, really interesting. And all indications pointing at Matt Gaetz. And today the story comes out that evidently an ex-girlfriend, she's cooperating with federal employees in the sex trafficking investigation. Never be in a position where an ex-girlfriend is going to come get you. This ought to be funny. Anyway, here to share some thoughts on the wing nuttery of the week. To discuss the wing nut week in review, I've asked our good friend, the professor, Brett Pransky, to come talk with us. Brett, thanks for taking time for us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, you ever want to be in a position where an ex-girlfriend or an ex-wife or ex-something is spilling the secrets?
Well, it does kind of make you wonder a little bit about the nature of the relationship. I mean, relationships come in all shapes and sizes, but you got to ask yourself, is this the kind of ex-girlfriend who looks in your phone when you're not around? You know what I mean? Because you have to wonder if the girlfriend or the ex-girlfriend is cooperating, you have to ask yourself, what does she have? Because it can't be nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sure she's not cooperating, just because. There must be something to it. So she must have heard something or seen something or, and I'd like to know what it was.
Or has a canceled check.
That could be it too. That really could.
Maybe she's got the Venmo account.
Yeah. There could be any number of it. I have no idea. All I know is that the potential information she could have could be literally anything, but we just don't know. I have no idea. I can't speculate.
And it's one of these things where, I have such a low opinion of Matt Gaetz that it really could be the worst possible scenarios one could imagine. Because look, sex trafficking a minor, you can't get much lower than that.
Right. And, and with this whole story kind of as it's come out, especially when you think about this Joel Greenberg guy, the number of things that he did and ended up being charged for. I mean, he was imagining all kinds of new ways to commit crimes, all kinds of crimes. And when you see that they wiped the slate clean on, what is the number? Was it 31 or 33 charges? Or they reduced it to 6 that he actually pled to, but there were dozens of charges. And then, so whatever he has or whatever he's saying must be of significant importance in order for them to drop all these other charges and only have him plead to 6 charges out of, several dozen.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. I mean, as we're talking about, in a minute we'll be talking about the January 6th commission and some of the insanity there. You go back to January 6th and you look at all these people who are basically, broadcasting their treason. I got to imagine that Greenberg and Gaetz, because he's been accused of showing pictures on the floor of the House to other representatives. I got to imagine there's video evidence. I got to imagine there's photographs. I got to imagine there's a ton of stuff that didn't make it onto social media.
Yeah, I mean, the possibility is actually, I think it goes beyond possibility. It's a likelihood. If he's in a position to have these images and to share them on the House floor, I'm guessing he wasn't sharing everything he had. I mean, chances are there's, some vault of media out there somewhere that he didn't share with anybody for whatever reason. And again, and that could be incorrect, but, it would track that there's more out there to be seen and to be had. And it could be that's some of the stuff that the ex-girlfriend is involved in talking about.
Now, I doubt he led with, hey, this is the minor that I was illegally having sex with. I doubt he led with that.
Right. Yeah. So do
I. But again, you got to ask the question, it's this far down the road. There's so many crimes. How did nobody in the Republican Party not know about this all along?
Well, and that's another thing we have to think about when this is all coming out. I mean, of course, we all think that what Joel Greenberg did was turn on Matt Gaetz. That's what everyone is assuming happened. But, we don't know if that's the entirety of what he has turned on. You know what I mean? There
Yeah.
have been mentions that this could go, into other places, whether it's in Florida politics or GOP politics at a more national level, whatever the case may be. We don't know how many people are involved. We're focused on Matt Gaetz because, he's such a lightning rod for this kind of stuff, and he's just such a terribly bad human being that it's really easy to focus all our attention on him. But it's quite possible that he is not the only figure who's being rolled on in this.
Going to be interesting to see, and I hope we get to find out. I'm hoping there's a where's Court TV when we need it?
Exactly.
I mean, we should be putting this on C-SPAN.
Yeah, this one needs to be public in every way possible because I want to see this. I want to see this crash. I really do.
Let's move on to some other insanity. Marco Rubio has come out against the January 6th commission. Well, duh.
Yeah, his phone must have rang. He must have got the call. And again, when you think back to 2015 and all these guys were talking tough about Trump, everybody was like, oh, this guy's crazy. This guy's a lunatic. And if we elect him, we'll get destroyed and we deserve it and all these different things. And everybody was talking tough. And now everybody across the board, when he calls and when he says, I want you to do this, they just fall right in line. It's really, when you compare the statements they make now to the statements they made back during campaign time before Trump became president, it's like entirely different human beings. And I mean, on down the list. So it really doesn't surprise me at all that Marco Rubio is like, what's that I'm supposed to say? Okay, let me walk over and parrot that into a microphone. Thank you very much, sir, for calling. You know what I mean? It doesn't surprise me at all that this is his position.
Yeah, but again, that's as you said, back during the campaign, there was a lot of tough talk, a lot of we're going to go out and we're going to duke it out. I look at Ted Cruz, probably the squishiest guy in the Senate. I'll tell you, someone would have said the things about my wife that Trump said about his wife. We'd have been on the stage rolling around.
Right.
But now you got one of his big defenders.
Yeah, and I mean, staunch defender. I mean, never, never fails to be the first person to trumpet the Trump lies, and that's what's really shocking because no one has had their dignity demeaned more than by Donald Trump than Ted Cruz, and yet Ted Cruz is the closest thing, the biggest bootlicker of the bunch, and it's really kind of a testament to Ted Cruz's backbone or lack of one, because he really is, he's exactly who we thought he was. And when the time comes and you have a chance to define yourself, this is how he's choosing to define himself. And it's just, it's sad. Well, less sad because it's Ted Cruz, who is just so vile that, watching him fall to pieces is somewhat entertaining. I know that's kind of mean, but it's true. But when someone is this terrible and this consistently vile, watching them do this particular brand of bootlicking is kind of satisfying.
But today he made news attacking the U.S. Army. Evidently, they put out an ad that he did not like. He was insulted. He said because he was against what he called a woke, emasculated Army ad. Now we could probably argue about the ad, but is this the guy to be making the emasculated kind of statement?
Yeah, the problem here is not the what. You know what I mean? Because you could reasonably make the argument that, hey, is this how we want to present the military? You know what I mean? You could make that argument. You can make it from a reasonable place, and some people would agree, some people would disagree, and so on. And that's fine. That's how it's supposed to work. But when it's the one thing you can't do here is be Ted Cruz. You know what I mean? You can't be the most cowardly individual. Did he file his statement from Cancun? I mean, you can't be that and be someone who is so consistently been weak and then demean literally anything the military does. It should just be off limits. Commentary on the military should be the third rail for Ted Cruz. He should just know better. You know what I mean? Let everybody else argue about what we should and shouldn't do, what's the right way to advertise or recruit or whatever it is you're trying to do. But you can't be Ted Cruz and weigh in on this. You just can't.
Especially using the word emasculated. I mean, when I saw that, anything else, I go, yeah. The second he hit that, I'm going, you are literally the poster child for emasculated.
I know, he's a giant pile of mashed potatoes. I mean, he's literally the weakest, the weakest guy imaginable. And again, and he's earned that. You can't take the kind of abuse he has taken and say nothing, and then turn around and completely, just bend the knee to the guy who did this to you, and stay there for years and years and years, and then claim to have any opinion on what is masculine and what is not. It's just, you can't do that. It's so unbelievably hypocritical. I'm surprised he wasn't struck by lightning in the middle of the statement.
Or at least somebody, some child or somebody to put him in line.
Or assault, something.
Which leads me to Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, we go from squishy to just outright crazy. And again, I still think it was a huge mistake for the Democrats to take her committee assignments away, because she's got nothing better to do but to cause nonsense. Evidently, she is now, am I getting this right? She's now comparing having to wear a mask to the Holocaust.
Yeah, I saw that, and it was frighteningly stupid. When it comes to people who serve in Congress, or really serve at any level, you want two things. You want an active mind and a servant's heart. Now, you can settle for either one of those. You don't have to be the sharpest crayon in the box if you have a servant's heart, and you can get around some failings if you're the smartest person in the room. But when you have neither, and then you reach a level of this kind of power, and you have none of the tools that you need to be of use to anybody. Like basic logical statements, like a public safety, rule asking you to wear a mask so other people can live, is something that you compare to the Holocaust. Now, what you can do with that is real simple. Take mask wearing and pull that out of the equation, and put in any other rule that we have in place anywhere about anything. All right. Seatbelts, speed limits. They're all the exact same thing. They're public health, concerns and things we do to save lives. And you could so you're telling me that speed limits are like the Holocaust. Really? Is that what we're getting at here? And I know masks are the political flavor of the week, and it's the thing that they use to stir up their outrage. But just looking at the basic logic of it, it makes absolutely zero sense. All right, speed limits are a good thing. They save lives. We have the data to prove it. Same thing with masks. All right, you may not like it. There are times when, maybe I don't want to drive through my neighborhood at 25 miles an hour. Maybe I want to drive through my neighborhood at 85 miles an hour. But you know what? That's not very safe, and there's a rule against it. So I follow the rule because it's what's best for everybody. And this is no different. And to see her compare this to the Holocaust of all things, it's ridiculous to a degree I don't even have the words to describe. And I'm an English professor, so that's really saying something.
Yeah. And speaking of crazy, you'll go on to the other, from Georgia to Colorado. You've got gun fetish Barbie, Lauren Boebert, who evidently is claiming that Texas hasn't had a single death due to COVID-19 since it lifted all of its restrictions 2 months ago. Hasn't had a single one. Yeah,
that's just flat out not true. But then again, this has become, pretty common on the right these days. I mean, think about just the other day. There was a meeting at the White House where, Republican leadership, and they were talking about, about the next bill, the American Jobs Plan, and what we're going to do with it and so on. And Kevin McCarthy afterwards comes out, and I believe he was still on the White House grounds when he said it, and he said, no one really questions the outcome of the 2020 election. And I guarantee you that evening, he said the exact opposite thing into a microphone on some right-wing source somewhere.
Right.
They literally say things that they know aren't true, and then they turn around and say the exact opposite thing, somewhere else, and they never, ever, ever expect anyone to care.
Yeah, in fact, he said that on the very day that CBS and YouGov came out with a poll that said 2/3 of the Republican Party doesn't believe Joe Biden is the legitimate president.
Yeah, but that's okay because he said it out loud. So that poll doesn't really matter because Kevin McCarthy said nobody really questions it into a microphone. And now later on, he'll be like, hey, everyone questions it. And that will then be true as well. They just lift out a previous truth and insert another truth over top of it. And again, because truth itself has no real value to them, they just keep replacing it with whatever they want. So for example, we have this phrase, my truth. You're hearing this all over the place on the right. That's my truth. That's what I believe. Well, that's great, but you don't get your truth. You get your opinion. You don't get your facts. You know what I mean? You don't get your truth is a thing that exists outside of, of you and I. Things are true or they're untrue. They can be false. You can have an opinion on this is better than that and so on. You can have your own opinions. You can't have your own set of facts. I'm half tempted to just write a letter to Nancy Pelosi and say, tomorrow, please step in front of a microphone and say the sky is blue, because I want to see Kevin McCarthy come out and say it's green. You know what I mean? It's nonsensical what they do, and we should be insulted by it a lot more than we are.
No, you're absolutely right. I look at this unemployment thing. It doesn't matter what Joe Biden does; they're going to be against it. And I'm part of me is shocked, part of me is outraged, but the other part of me is not either of those, because this is what I expect from the Republicans. We haven't seen, the outrage that I would hope from literally trying to take food out of the mouths of children. It's frustrating and angering.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's frustrating and angering about it is that they're not following the basic rules of the economy. All right, we gave those benefits to people because they needed them, because people were starving. It was the right thing to do. It's still the right thing to do. But now there are positions out there that don't pay enough money, have never paid enough money, and people don't want to do them, so these jobs aren't filling. That's how it's supposed to work. And in a couple rooms from me right now, I have a PlayStation 5. It was incredibly hard to get. They're not manufacturing them fast enough. No one could get one. All right. And I really wanted one. So you know what I did? I paid more than it was worth. I paid significantly more than the retail price in order to get it. Why? Because I wanted it. I had the disposable income. I wanted it, so I paid the price. The same should be true of all the different places that can't find workers. If you can't find workers, pay them. Pay them a higher wage.
Yep.
If you pay them, they will come. It's just, it's kind of like Field of Dreams. If you pay them, they will come. If you don't pay them, you can always count on Republicans to pull their benefits. I mean, it's just, it's insane. And it's not how the market's supposed to work. Yeah,
no, and it is just that simple. But what an interesting week it has been. But Brett, I appreciate you taking some time, sharing some thoughts and some of your linguistic expertise. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Our good friend, the Professor Brett Pransky. Let's take a quick break. Right back after this. Stick around.
Remembering that united we bargain, divided we beg. Rick Smith.